From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, I'm Carla Gonzalez, and this is From the South. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has said that Tehran will increase uranium enrichment if it doesn't see efforts to preserve the nuclear deal from European signatories. President Rouhani said that Iran still supports the deal, saying that it is to everyone's benefit. However, he questioned the commitment of European countries that signed the agreement. The Iranian president said that the steps being taken now can still be reversed, but that the Arak reactor will be reopened on July 7th if progress isn't made. Rouhani added that the best thing for the United States to do is amend the mistake it made by pulling out of the agreement.
از 16 تیر ما اقدام بعدی رو میکنیم. اگر میخواهید اظهار تاسف بکنید از همین حالا اظهار تاسف بفرمایید. اگر هم بناس
express regret, then please do it now. Or if you wish to issue a communique, then please issue one now. From July 7th, our level of uranium enrichment will no longer remain at 3.67%. We will put this commitment to a cap on enrichment to one side. We will increase the cap to whatever level we deem is essential for us and to a level that we need. You must also know that if you do not fulfill all your obligations to us under the agreement and in the agreed time frame, then from July 7th, the Arak nuclear reactor will return to its previous activities.
At least 44 people have been killed after an airstrike targeted a migrant facility in a suburb of the Libyan capital, Tripoli. According to the Ministry of Health, more than 130 people have sustained injuries following the airstrike on the facility, which was housing 120 migrants. It is not yet clear who was behind the attack. Tripoli has been ravaged by intense fighting since April, when military allied to Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar launched an offensive to overthrow the UN-backed government of national accord. The country has been in chaos since former Prime Minister Muammar Gaddafi was overthrown by NATO-backed forces.
Some people wounded and they died on the road on their way running, and some people are still under the block, so we don't know what to say. All what we know is we want UN to help people out of this place, because this place is dangerous. We know it's going to happen like this before, but we don't have any power to do anything. So there's small children and there's some people that stranded here. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. Like me, I don't know what to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go.
CARICOM leaders are set to discuss their position on the political situation in Venezuela when they meet in St. Lucia for the 40th regular meeting of CARICOM heads of government. CARICOM Secretary General Irwin Rock made the announcement at Tuesday's pre-summit media briefing, where he also reaffirmed CARICOM's support for a peaceful solution in Venezuela.
The principle of non-interference, non-intervention. The issue that there must be dialogue between the opposition and the government. The issue of non-politicization of aid. The issue that there must be a peaceful resolution. The issue of the recognition of the Constitution and the rule of law. All of which are principles up to this day that every single member state, whether they recognize Juan Guaido or not, or they recognize President Maduro or not, adhere to those principles, as distinct from others who are demanding that there be regime change or other avenues. We cannot afford any kind of this thing to escalate into a kind of violent confrontation in Venezuela.
Our correspondent in St. Lucia, Alison Kentish, has more.
The 40th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, will take place in St. Lucia from July 3rd to the 5th. Now, ahead of that meeting, the Secretary General of CARICOM, Owen Larocque, has been discussing what the leaders expect on their agenda over those 3 days. Ambassador Larocque met with members of the regional press on Tuesday. He said the leaders will discuss blacklisting. Now, blacklisting continues to be a sore point for some members of CARICOM who have described as unfair the European Union's publication of uncooperative tax jurisdictions in the region. They say that blacklisting continues to hurt member states of CARICOM. They will also discuss access to concessionary financing for resilience building initiatives. Now, according to Ambassador Larrock, it is not too difficult to obtain financing and assistance after a disaster, but what he says that the small island developing states of CARICOM need most is access to concessional financing before a disaster. In other words, they need to shore up their defenses and to embark on projects that will help to mitigate the impact of adverse weather and severe weather events. The leaders are also expected to discuss border issues, in particular the Venezuela-Guyana border and the Belize-Guatemala border. They will also discuss crime and security, trade, agriculture, food security, and the CARICOM single market and economy. The leaders will also host two special guests. They are the Prime Minister of Norway, Ina Solberg, and also the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. Prime Minister Solberg and the UN head are expected to be part of a special panel on climate change and building the blue economy. The meeting will be chaired by Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Alan Shastney. Mr. Shastney took over the chairmanship of the CARICOM cabinet on July 1st.
That was Alison Kentish from St. Lucia. In other news, the Venezuelan president, Nicolás Maduro, has reconfirmed the government's commitment to dialogue with the opposition taking place in Norway, saying that there will be good news next week.
I am certain, more than certain, that in 2019 we will achieve a significant agreement of peace and understanding, dialogue and democracy for Venezuela. I am sure, I am absolutely certain.
President Maduro added that dialogue is the path to overcoming differences between the country's different political actors.
Ese es el objetivo, construir una mesa permanente de diálogo y soluciones.
This is the other objective, to build a permanent table for dialogue and solutions. And I can say that it's going well, and the process will go well, and can count on all our support under any circumstances. And our support to the dialogue and solutions table, that with Norway's help, is progressing. Also, we have our doors open for the political dialogue with all leaders and political opponents. And there's going to be good news which is expected to come next week.
Venezuela's Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza gave a report on the advances made during his recent diplomatic tour in Europe. Last week, he made official visits to Italy, Austria, Spain, and Portugal, denouncing the negative effects of sanctions imposed against Venezuela. Arreaza said that Italy is now committed to covering the cost of medical treatments for patients who are awaiting treatment, but were prevented from accessing it due to the blockade. He added that Cuba and Turkey will also treat Venezuelan patients who are awaiting medical transplants. He denounced the blockade on food distribution in the country as well.
The government of the United States of America is responsible for a criminal blockade which has affected food and agricultural production in Venezuela. Following an interruption, we said we came to the FAO precisely to denounce these unilateral policies, the coercive unilateral measures which are illegal and arbitrary of that government, and if not the United Nations, then where? We took advantage of being there to solicit from the joint United Nations to the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. We asked of the General Assembly and its President, but also of the Security Council and all of the agencies and organs of the United Nations. We urged them to use their voice to defend the people who are under assault by a form of aggression which could be the preamble to a war of which these sanctions are a part, which affect the life, the peace and the health of the people under attack.
On Monday, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador celebrated a year since his victory at the polls. At a mass rally in Mexico City, he provided a report on his government's achievements so far.
It's been 7 months since Andrés Manuel López Obrador took office, and 1 year since he won the presidential race. Speaking to a large crowd in the iconic Zócalo Square, he said he has already kept 78 out of 100 promises he made in the same square on the 1st of December of 2018.
By the end of this year, we will have finished weeding out corruption from the old regime, and we will have built the foundations for politically transforming Mexico.
In this context, the president also recognized the many challenges still left for his administration.
We still need to improve the health system. The economy needs to continue growing, and the levels of violence are the same we inherited from the last administration.
López Obrador added that his government will no longer tolerate corruption and will prioritize the less fortunate. He also talked about economic stability and the importance of good relations with neighboring countries. In terms of security, he detailed the work that the National Guard will be doing. This is a newly created body that started operations with 70,000 members, but has been questioned by many citizens.
The
National Guard is meant to be a civil organization with a military background. And as we all know, militarization in many countries, especially in Mexico, has implied a severe crisis and a setback in human rights. Those who supported López Obrador last year, with more than 53% of the vote, once again confirmed their support.
We don't want more bloodshed. We don't want more unemployment. We want justice. We don't want revenge. And yes, we want all corrupt politicians to face justice, as well as the businessmen who took part in the schemes.
People share the same optimism of President Obrador and say they are willing to continue building the so-called fourth transformation of their country.
After the break, Ecuador is looking to crack down on illegal mining. Don't go away.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Get your body. Tuesdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. The African Union and Ethiopian mediators have invited Sudan's ruling generals and protest leaders to resume talks in Khartoum as they seek a breakthrough on creating a new governing body for the country. The call to attend talks comes as tensions remain high between two sides after a deadly crackdown on June 3rd on a protest camp that killed dozens and wounded hundreds.
We have invited the two parties for a meeting tomorrow, and we have fixed for them a time and place. It is not appropriate for political and security reasons to disclose the time and venue, but this invitation has been sent to both parties.
There is one point where opinions are conflicting, and that is the Sovereign Council.
Israeli citizens of Ethiopian descent have taken to the streets in the city of Haifa to protest against the killing of an 18-year-old boy by an off-duty police officer. Solomon Teka was killed on Sunday night by a police officer who claims he was trying to stop a fight between two groups. The killing has sparked outrage among the Ethiopian community, who have accused the police of unfairly targeting their young people because of their skin color. Teka is the second Ethiopian to be killed by a police officer in 2019.
רואים שאף אחד לא עומד לצידנו
We can tell that no one sees us, no one investigates these issues deeply. They always sweep this issue under the carpet. We don't understand anything. The alert is only nonsense. We don't want these things to continue. We don't want things to be under the carpet. We want them to treat this from the roots. We want an honest life. If there's no honest life, there won't be any calm in this country.
In Brazil, Justice Minister Sergio Moro spoke in Congress on the recent allegations that he worked with the prosecutors to keep former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva behind bars through a series of illegal acts. Our correspondent in Brasilia, André Vieira, has the details.
Former judge and current Justice Minister Sergio Moro is taking part in a hearing at the lower house of Congress. He will have to explain recent accusations published in The Intercept that revealed he worked together with the public ministry to sentence former President Lula da Silva without a fair trial. Lawmakers will also question the evidence that was used to sentence Lula, because on Sunday, The Intercept and Folha de São Paulo revealed that Sergio Moro, along with prosecutors, pressured a former member of construction company OAS to incriminate Lula da Silva without any evidence. Meanwhile, Lula's defense team continues searching for ways to annul his prison sentence.
André Vieira from Brazil. The Ecuadorian government has deployed some 2,400 soldiers and police officers to the region of La Merced de Buenos Aires to crack down on illegal mining. The government also issued a state of emergency for the mining region after deadly clashes between armed groups fighting for control of illegal mining activities. According to official data, more than 10,000 people are mining illegally in the region, rich in silver and copper.
Among all the crimes identified in the area, we have had some violent deaths, but also in the area there is labor exploitation, sexual exploitation, money laundering, extortion, intimidation, smuggling.
Now to Bolivia, where the country's gross domestic product has seen a 4% growth in the first half of 2019, as it was projected by the government of Evo Morales.
The official report on Bolivia's economic performance during the first half of the year highlights growing international problems.
There's the problem of Argentina, there's the problem of Brazil, there's the problem of the trade war between the United States and China, which is generating uncertainty for the market. And not only for Bolivia, everyone's aware of this problem.
Brazil and Argentina are the main export markets for Bolivian natural gas. But official analysis says internal economic problems in these countries have reduced demand.
The only problem we have is the issue of declining gas exports to Argentina and Brazil. It is the oil and gas sector that have problems, but the rest of the sectors have shown a growth rate above 4% so far, and that means we are doing very well.
According to analysts, the strength of the Bolivian economic model lies more in the domestic market rather than in exports.
There has been some aggressive public investment in this country, and the government continues with public investment thanks to its economic model of accumulating financial buffers, or matrices, during favorable periods of the international market, and relying on them when there are hard times.
The Bolivian model is described as anti-cyclical, since it doesn't follow the classical recommendations of neoliberalism or the International Monetary Fund.
We are not getting scared. We don't act like it's better not spending anything, not making investments. No, what we're doing is called an anti-cyclical behavior, which means that when we have been able to gather the matrices, we will use them so that public investment isn't slowed down. For us, public investment is important.
As elections are nearing, official economic projections indicate a growth of 4.5%. with an annual inflation of 4% for this year.
Now to the Caribbean. Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit says he plans to bow out as leader of the Dominica Labour Party after the general elections. He made the revelation during a political rally in Antigua and Barbuda, where he addressed Dominicans, some of whom moved there following the devastating effects of Hurricane Maria in 2017. Elections are constitutionally due by March next year, but many presume it will be held by the end of this year, as rallies rage on. Skerrit became the youngest head of government at the age of 31, surpassing Joseph Kabila of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
I want to recognize
SVG Air, the national airline of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, might be permanently providing flights between Grenada and one of its smaller islands called Carriacou. The 19-seater aircraft has been making frequent trips between the Lauriston Airport in Carriacou and the Maurice Bishop International Airport on the mainland. Minister for Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs, Kindra Marturin Stewart, announced last month that the government would do what it could to facilitate the work of the airline. The minister also underscored the significance of the service between the islands. The body that was found at Simpson Bay, St. Martin over the weekend is that of a local and not either of the U.S. tourists who went missing in Barbados last Monday. Barbados had been working to confirm the identity of the deceased as the New Jersey residents Oscar Suarez and Magdalena Devil went missing. The pair got on a jet ski and never returned. Caribbean islands have since joined the search with the Coast Guards of St. Lucia, Martinique and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, keeping an eye out along their coasts and around their islands. Coming up, migrant rescue NGOs urge the newly elected members of the European Parliament for help. Stay with us.
Our actions have an impact on the environment. It's our responsibility to change for the sake of our planet. Let's be part of this transition. Watch, preserve, and protect your Earth. Green Zone. Wednesdays, only on Telesur.
Thank you for joining us again. A judge in Italy has ordered the immediate release of the captain of the Sea-Watch migrant rescue ship. Carola Raquet was arrested after she steered her ship, carrying 41 migrants from Africa, through a naval blockade into the port of Lampedusa on Saturday. The Sea-Watch hit a police patrol boat on the way. The judge said Raquet had not broken the law because she was carrying out her duty to save lives. The Italian Interior Minister Matteo Salvini said he had hoped for a tougher response from the courts. And the Spanish migrant rescue NGO Proactiva Open Arms has held a demonstration outside the European Parliament in Strasbourg, France. The organization urged newly elected MEPs to end the criminalization of rescuing migrants at sea. Saving migrant lives in the Mediterranean has become increasingly difficult as a consequence of European Union policy and reactionary governments seeking to prevent migrants from arriving to their shores.
I've been denouncing all the situation which is happening for years there, but anything is changing. I mean, we listen to many words, but there are something like empty words. So if they do not want to help the people, if they do not want to help the organizations which are working to help these people, we will bring the organization and these people to them. They cannot close their eyes to this.
Climate activists in France have joined hands with Yellow Vests protesters to demonstrate against the retail giant Amazon at its French head office. The activists entered the company headquarters and formed a blockade holding banners calling for Amazon to stop acting with social and environmental impunity. They attacked the company's economic model, saying that they make social problems, including climate change, worse.
We are 240 activists inside. I think there were a few small confrontations with employees inside. I'm not sure because I was outside. For now, it's going well. People are determined. It makes sense for all the activists and yellow vests to be here today. Amazon is clearly a company that really accumulates the flaws of this economic model and even makes them worse. It makes overproduction worse. It makes climate change worse. It makes tax evasion worse. It makes social problems and the destruction of jobs worse. Amazon is the avant-garde of a world we do not want, and it is the avant-garde of a world that will be unbearable for hundreds of thousands of people in the future.
A United Nations investigator has accused Myanmar security forces of committing acts of violence against the Rohingya community that may amount to war crimes. In a report presented to the UN Human Rights Council in Switzerland, Yang Li said there are new evidence of forced disappearance, arbitrary detentions and killings of young men for suspected links to the Arakan army. However, Myanmar's representative to the UN has denied the accusations and said his government was focused on effecting national reconciliation.
The conflict with the Arakan army in northern Rakhine State and parts of southern Chin State has continued over the past few months, and the impact on civilians is devastating. Many acts of the Tatmadaw and the Arakan army violate international humanitarian law and may amount to war crimes, as well as violating human rights.
And with that, we end our news brief. But remember, you can find all of our stories by checking our website, telesurenglish.net. And be sure to check us out on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching.